Trump's landslide victory again in New Hampshire really spells a few different things. Cruise to victory in Iowa. Cruise to victory in New Hampshire. Really where the establishment, the RINOs, the GOP, the grand old party, as we know and love them, loathe them. Well, they poured all their money and their heart and soul in New Hampshire. And Nikki Haley got crushed by 11 points. And now she has a very rocky road ahead. Her home state in South Carolina, where Trump is currently outdoing her big time. DeSantis already out, trying to funnel into the really anti-Trump vote. And I think some of it, to be quite honest, I think some of it has to do with people not being certain Trump's there at the end of the day, and they want their hat in the ring. I think that's why some of these candidates were still in. But, it shows a few things, I think. It shows, again, Nikki's road ahead is all but lost. Really, anyone but Trump. You might as well get out. Trump's making the point now. Get out. There's really no point. We need to coalesce, get together, get our funds together to go defeat the people that really are running roughshod over the country. Let's be out and obvious and honest about it. The people that have your wealth, your freedom, your liberties, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights really hanging by a thread at the end of the day. And we know this because the media is really at the end of the rope. They're at the end of the brainwashing cycle, meaning when all brainwashing is really being exposed and you can't really do much else, you really go to hardcore lawfare and character assassinations. And what are they talking about? The media everywhere is talking about this guy in Germany that ran things in the 30s. That's all they're saying. He's a fascist, H-word. He's a fascist, H-word. The guy who ran Germany in the 30s. Just over and over and over again. And then lawfare. 91, criminal accusations, I believe, that they're trying to get him on. I mean, this is, I called this like a year or two ago, the Sarah Palin playbook. They did the same thing to Sarah Palin. They came after her. You had reporters moving in next door to her in Alaska, where she lived, trying to dig up anything they could to character assassinate her. And, Republicans in the past, the Nixons, people over and over again, they tend to just, hey, I'm just going to step aside. I'm just going to do the right thing. I'm just going to, I'm going to play like there's two parties here, and there's really a good and a bad side, and they just recede into the shadows. And that's what Sarah Palin did. She went and they kept lawfare, suing her, and she finally stepped aside as governor of Alaska and said, hey, it's just costing the taxpayer too much. And then as soon as the Republican concedes, they drop all the charges. This playbook is played out over and over and over again, and it's lawfare. I didn't know the term. I don't know if there was a term for it really until the last few years, but B.J. Dichter really helped me understand the term, and I was like, oh, that's what they have been doing for decades, coming after you, trying to get you to resign, trying to sue you, trying to spend all this money, waste all this time and effort and energy, suck you away and divert and distract, and then when this thing actually happens, or then you quit, then they're like, okay, I'm dropping everything. This has happened so many times. I mean, just go research, trust but verify. Go look at how many times this happened to Republicans who have receded, resigned, whatever, and they just, all of a sudden it's just fine. No, nothing happened. It's totally good. Nothing happened at all. Nothing to see here. And this is the same thing. Like, no one's going to waste their time with Trump. If he receded or resigned or left, if he doesn't win, like, all these things will get dropped. Not one thing will carry on. They don't care. They don't care. A lot of people just despise this man. I will say it's a little different with him. However, he's not in a position of power. He's not seeking power, so they don't care. The darkness doesn't care at the end of the day. They just want power. And there's darkness on both sides. There just happens to be more on the American left because it's the progressive collectivist mindset that is the darkness, that is the pervasive evil that roots out the freedoms and the life force out of human beings, out of the individual. That is the problem. This is the problem right here. It stems from this. If you want to read, look how thin that is. If you want to read where the problems stem from, it's hundreds of years in the making right here. It's a culmination, really, of the British crown, quite honestly, and just the ruling class that had the power. And you had people who weren't happy, and they went off and did their thing. And here we are. We're living the ramifications of this society that we have tried to create, this utopian worldview for ourselves. And it doesn't work well. It's created crony capitalism. It's destroyed capitalism. We've given ourselves a broken monetary system. And we've talked about this. Number 5, the centralization of credit. The 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. Number 5, centralization of credit in the hands of the state. by means of a national bank, a federal bank, Federal Reserve, with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. So we have that. We've done all those planks, and we're not going to get into those today, but that's where we're at. And a couple other points here are, I got it on my list. The RINOs are dying. They're gone. The RINOs are going extinct. Their money doesn't work the way it is. They're losing power. They're losing, I don't know if you can say wealth, but they're losing power. They're dying off, literally, figuratively, and they don't have the power they used to. The new guard is coming in. The GOP is not the grand old party anymore. It's the brand new party. It's the party that's going to most likely take the mantle of freedom and liberty going forward, and just for the foreseeable future, until the government really starts to change. But that's decades from now, over the next century, as an equity-based monetary system takes hold. I think the vestiges of power in the legacy government really start to diminish. But again, that's going to take a while. And then lastly is Biden. Biden wasn't even on the ballot. I think he won with some write-in campaign. But if he's not replaced, what does that mean? If he's not campaigning, he's just campaigning from his basement. Doesn't that give you red flags right there? The guy doesn't even have to campaign at all. Again, a new guy, and then now an incumbent doesn't have to campaign. Doesn't have to campaign. What does that mean? This is what we talk about critical thinking. Like, we have to think, like, why is that? What does that mean? It means that the media's in the bag for him. Once again, media in the bag for the leftists, for the progressives. These people aren't. This is beyond the pale. The people in power. I think there's a lot of good Democrat voters that maybe know so much that isn't so, unfortunately, as Ronald Reagan famously said. But they're supporting people that are quite literally off the rocker and have zero care in the world for the people they claim to serve. And if Biden isn't replaced as well, he's not campaigning, he's not replaced, they're that comfortable? The Democrats are that comfortable. Ukraine, Middle East, wars all over the place, inflation, nuts economy, people losing jobs left and right, as we have documented here over and over and over again for the last couple of years. And you're not going to replace them. You're not going to replace them. You're really not going to replace them. What does that say about the state of the apparatus, the voting apparatus? Right now we have the voting machines being called into question again, very secretly in the background. Again, the voting machine thing has not gone away the entire time. And again, just to get away from the voting machine thing, directionally, if you're correct, if you can not audit the systems, Bitcoiners understand this very well, because Bitcoin itself is an auditing system. Every 10 minutes, there's an audit in the entire system, and the whole entire blockchain is audited to make sure it's correct. So Bitcoiners, out of anybody, understand this better than anyone, because the whole thing is auditing. If you can't audit the vote, then I know just inherently the incentives are there to cheat. That's just human nature. And that's what people have a hard time understanding. I've been told many times over the last few years, I used to think you were crazy, Brandon, but the last 3 or 4 years really started to wake me up. I realized that there are evil people in power that don't have my best intentions at heart. That's the story of life. That's how all leadership and collective governments go. That's why the Founding Fathers created a decentralized government based on the individual here. That is the exceptionalism. That's the difference. That's what made America so different than everything else. And we will get back to that. We're getting back to that. We're going to be a nation of states going forward again, like we were, of 50 nations, and not one nation. We're going to be 50 nations that happen to do some things together, but we're going to get back to this. So what does it tell you about the apparatus that is installed? If they're so confident they don't replace Biden, watch for that. And he ain't campaigning, boy, oh boy, what does that say about the apparatus in place? Be ready for anything going forward. Get independent, get resilient, get some Bitcoin, gold, silver, food, ammo, energy, water, security, firearms, ammo, get some land, build community. Number one, build community, learn how to garden. But this year is so huge because there's going to be chaos. They're going to create chaos to divert, to distract, to create emergency so they can do what they want to do. And when I say they, I talk about the apparatus in place that really knows no boundaries, knows no red or blue. It's all purple. It's not red versus blue, it's the state versus you. Remember that. Then everything starts to come into clear focus. You got to get your Marxist lens on. Then things come into focus. So, and you'll start to see people on both sides once you put those lenses on. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth. Question everything in boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trust but verify. And this is not financial advice, it's freedom advice. I'll see you in the next one.